back with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So first thing first, I want to send some love out to my good mate Dino and his family. Dino's mum passed away last week after like a 5 or 6 year battle with cancer, and the funeral was during the wedding. I attended it. I live streamed it. The giant church was empty. It was just the 3 kids allowed there, but it was a nice service. And I didn't want to bring it up during the wedding because I didn't want to just tack that shit on to the end. Dino's mum was a great lady, a tough fucking lady. When I was leaving Sydney 9 years ago, almost 9 years ago now, I left a San Pedro cactus, a mescaline cactus, at her house to look after it for me. And all these years later, I had forgotten about it, but Dino reminded me. He's like, Mum still kept your San Pedro cactus. Now I've got it, man, and I'll look after it. And I said, sweet as, next time I see you, we'll cook that fucking thing up and we'll take it in honor of your mum. That will be special. Tripping with Dino for the first time since my mind melted about 9-10 years ago. So that fucking sucked. That's the second Zoom funeral I've been to. I've only been to 3 real funerals. Yeah, I think it's only 3 funerals I've been to. My mate's pedophile dad who committed suicide, my mate Matt who was in a car accident when we were 18, and another mate named Matt who OD'd on meth. I haven't told you the stories of those 2 Matts yet either. Matty Hunter and Matty McQuinn. Fucking trouble, those 2 cunts. Especially Matty McQuinn. He was nothing but fucking trouble. He was the most trouble I've ever seen. To tell Matt McQuinn's story, that is going to take about 3 or 4 episodes alone. Jesus Christ, I'm just thinking of the few things that are on the top of my head about Matt McQuinn. One of them's he punched me in the fucking face at a party, and Matt Hunter, the other guy who passed away in the car accident, he was next to me. He was standing next to me, encouraging me to scull a beer, and I just downed maybe my 3rd beer, and as soon as I put it down, I fucking cop a haymaker from Matt McQuinn out of nowhere. That's one incident. Another one was he pulled a machete on his brother out the front of my fucking house and chased him down the street with a fucking machete. Another one was we got pulled over in a stolen car, allegedly stolen car by the police. I was in the back seat. It was allegedly stolen. And Matt didn't have his fucking driver's license either. And the police comes up to the window and somehow Matt McQuinn fucking talked the police officer around. I've never ever heard anyone speak like Matt McQuinn. He was a silver-tongued bullshit artist of the highest order. I have to go through the full fucking Matt McQuinn story. We obviously had a falling out. I actually had a falling out with the other Matt who passed away as well. I had a lot of falling outs. I was constantly falling out. I don't think I've ever had a friend that I haven't had a full-blown falling out with. I've been in fights with most of my friends. I don't mean like yelling argument. I mean physical punch-ons. I've been in physical fights with most of my friends. Cal, Matt, Sean, Gav, Anthony, Craig, Jason, that's going back. There was a few with Jace. Fucking who else? Horn, Jakey. The list goes on because it literally is all of them. Dino escaped. Me and Dino have never come to blows. And Morgan, I don't think. My mate Morgan. I don't think we've ever come to blows. There's been some injuries surrounding us, but no blows. That really gives you a good idea of the character you're dealing with here. Dylan, I forgot about Dylan. Dylan, Andrew Roberts. I forgot about Roberts. Me and Roberts had a full-on fight. He had butted me, then I beat the shit out of him. I think this does say a lot more about me than them. It's probably even worth going through all the physical fights I've had with my friends. That can be a 15-part series called Boyle Blues. Boyle Blues and Friends. Anyway, that was not meant to be the fucking theme of today's podcast. It's Monday. Let's move on to this week's Ask Boyle. Ask me a question, tell me a rhyme, 'cause it's Ask Boyle time. So if you have a question that you need answered by Le Boyle, send it into my email, boylecomedy davidboyle@gmail.com. Don't send it into my social media anymore. It gets lost and I can't be bothered looking for it. But if you want to send me a message saying how good I am, how I saved your life, any of that bullshit, still send those messages to social media. I accept praise on social media. So hit me up there for good vibes and bad. That is Boyle Comedy on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Anyway, let's get to this week's Ask Boyle, because I'm going to have to put my thinking cap on for this one. This one was sent in by Sammy out there in Nashville, USA. Is it Nashville, Tennessee? Nashville, Tennessee. The home of country music and the comedian Nate Bargatze, who's one of the best comedians out. Go check him out. So the Ask Boyle this week is mass media. Absolute freedom of the press lets them create fear that isn't real, but state-run media seems wrong too. What's Boyle's solution? Well, Sammy, you have come to the right place. So you need absolute freedom of the press. What you're seeing now is not a free press. That is a co-opted press. It seems to have been co-opted by the state, well, partially the state and partially big business. So you need a free press because you need to trust the press. And you can only trust them if they're free. And I mean free to investigate and report any story they want. But that has not been the case in a long fucking time. So you need a free press to keep institutions and government accountable. You also need a free and trusted press to create a narrative for the population in times of emergency such as this. But the key there is you need a trusted press. And there is no trusted press anymore because we've just gone through about 2 decades of continuous lies and cover-ups and misinformation. The misinformation is coming from the fucking mainstream press. It's actually coming from everywhere now, but mainstream media is as guilty as fucking anyone. So, for example, with this pandemic, if we had a media that we trusted, also the institutions, not just the media, but let's stick with the media. If we had a media that hadn't lied to us about a million different things over the last 20 years, weapons of mass destruction, September 11, financial crisis, Epstein, fucking you name it, they've lied to you about it. If the press had any integrity whatsoever, this pandemic would have played out much, much differently. But people have completely lost any trust whatsoever in any mainstream media fucking institutions. It's gone. That's what decades and decades of fucking lying does. And you do need the media. You need a media you can trust because there's just so many fucking people. You need to build a narrative sometimes. You have to build a narrative, especially in emergencies like this. But it has become so fucking fragmented and it has become just blatantly obvious that the media have just become mouthpieces to particular agendas. It has become a propaganda machine. It always was a propaganda machine, but there used to be elements of the media where you believed they had your best interests at heart. But now there is just no way you can believe that whatsoever. You would have to believe that corrupt liars are lying for your best interests, which is a irreconcilable reality. Once someone lies to you, how can they be trusted to have your best interests at heart? So anyway, what the fuck was the question again? So you need a free press to keep institutions, government, people accountable, and also to create a narrative in times of emergency. And when the media is free to operate and investigate and tell the stories they need to tell or want to tell, you can trust that media. The problem is the media does not seem to be working for the people anymore. Also, if you just have a state-run media, that just becomes pure propaganda. That's just like Stalinist Russia or current-day China. They create the fucking narrative for you all the time, and there are no alternative narratives. So what is the solution to this fucking mess? Well, the problem is you're going to have small media outlets, like currently small media outlets, replace the big media outlets, which means they will be susceptible to corruption as well. So, but that's just part of the fucking game, really. But in the meantime, before they're replaced, you have to find some people that you trust. That's all there is to it in every single fucking facet of life now. You have to find some people you trust, which puts the onus entirely back on the individual. And we all know the individual sometimes can make some dicey decisions on who they trust. So although that is the best option at the moment, that will cause a bit of a fragmentation of society, which we see now. It is fragmented as fuck. So the solution in a nutshell is you got to find some people you trust while the institutional media outlets collapse and hopefully are replaced by some institutions we can trust, because you do kind of fucking need them, unfortunately. But maybe society is too fragmented to come under the one umbrella again. Maybe, like I've always said, we need an alien landing. Not that people would even give a fuck about that anyway. But anyway, I hope that answered your fucking question. Fragmented, I've been talking about fragmented. That answer was pretty fucking fragmented. Anyway, that'll do for tonight, and I'll see you the fuck later.